Well, I think that that summary fairly states what's happening with Iowa's population trend. But we've got a broken immigration system in this country, Mark, and we've got to fix it. And I plan to be a strong, independent, bipartisan voice in Congress to make that happen. One of the major problems we have with our current immigration system is that the President, as the chief of the executive branch, is responsible for enforcing the laws. And under the Bush administration, we have seen the number of citations against employers who hire illegal immigrants plummet. Only 3 employers were cited last year. That's a problem of accountability and enforceability. If you don't enforce the law, people don't respect the law. So we have to get tough on immigration, and we have to make sure that what we're doing makes sense. We need to make sure that people coming to this country know what their responsibilities are, that they know what their requirements are in order to pass a citizenship test, because we need a steady stream of legal immigrants for this state to grow. If you look around the Midwest, you'll see a state like Minnesota, which has one of the largest foreign-born populations in the Midwest and also has the strongest economy. We know demographically that as baby boomers retire, a lot of people doing our manufacturing and construction jobs right now won't be available to fill those needs. So we're going to have a labor demand that we have to address, and we need to live up to that strong heritage that Mike and I talked about earlier of encouraging people to come here as a place of hope and opportunity so that they can live up to the American dream. But we have to make sure that we do it in a way that makes sense for Iowa, and we have to do it in a way that has a tough message that we aren't going to tolerate people who violate the law. And that's why, as a country, we have to work hard to come up with a solution and require that the people responsible for enforcing the law do their job.
Mr. Whalen.
I've said in the beginning, as somebody who's actually hired people and filled out I-9s, that I know how the system works. And I've said that the number one thing we need to do is, if we want to stop the flow, we need to stop the jobs. We need to stop the jobs to stop the flow. Because for $125 or so, I'm told, in any city in this country, you can get a fake set of documents that can legally entitle you, and no employer is really going to be able to discern a good set of counterfeit documents, whether you're legally entitled to work here or not. That's a crazy system. Take a look at the back of your Iowa driver's license. It has a barcode, a magnetic strip, and in any of your Visa cards that can be instantly verified whether or not that's a good card or not in any small shop in Iowa. Why can't you do that with employment documents? We need to stop the jobs and stop the flow. If people knew they couldn't come here and get a job illegally, they wouldn't risk their lives to cross the desert to get here. Yes, we need to strengthen the borders. We need to strengthen the borders right away. Because Americans and Iowans aren't against immigration. They're not racist and they're not xenophobes. What they want is people to play by the law, the rule of law, and have people come in just like our folks did, our great-grandparents did, by the law, above the board. Stop the jobs, stop the flow, strengthen the border, deport those who've broken the law, and then let's have an open, honest debate about how many more folks we need to let in. Because the reality of it is, it's too hard to come here legally in this country. People with high skills that are needed, like doctors that would serve underserved rural areas, have a hard time getting into this country. That's a system that's kind of backwards. And as a member of Congress, as somebody who really knows how the employment thing works, and has actually hired people time after time after time, I'll make sure that we won't have an immigration policy that doesn't really fix the problem.
Thank you. Rebuttal, Mr. Braley.
Well, you can have the most fail-safe employee identification process in the country. And if employers know they're never going to be prosecuted for violating the law, they will continue to hire people who don't come into this country legally. Because that's what they've been doing for the past 6 years. The best identification system in the world won't prevent that. We need a government that's responsive to the people. You need a Congress that's going to stand up to this president and hold him accountable for enforcing the law.
Mr. Whalen?
You know, that's interesting. I guess all I'd ask to do is ask you, Mr. Braley, to get out of the courtroom and into the dining room and hire people with me. Because the fact is, you cannot tell whether somebody brings in a set of documents, whether those documents are real or not. You know what? When I went to the Restaurant Association that I belonged to for a long time, and a lot of times a finger gets pointed at that, they said, Mike, you're 100% right. We want to play by the rules. We try to play by the rules. We need a system that lets us play by the rules.
Thank you. Our next question involves an issue that's been around longer than any of the issues we've spoken about so far, and that's Social Security. Social Security has faced funding concerns for years. You've both suggested adjustments. Take this time to describe those adjustments and specifically how you would pay for them. Mr. Whalen.